Keiko's days at Senkichi bookstore lasted from early summer to the beginning of the following spring. During this time, she lived in a vacant room on the second floor of the shop, spending her days surrounded by piles of books. The room was poorly lit and very narrow. Combined with the persistent musty smell of old books, it always felt dark and damp. However, it was precisely in such a place that Keiko's real life began. The reason she came here was because of a sudden and shocking piece of news. Her boyfriend of 1.5 years suddenly told her, "I'm getting married." He did not say, "Let's get married," nor did he say, "I want to get married." Instead, he said, "I'm going to marry my girlfriend." Only then did Kiyoko realize that he had already been in a relationship with another woman for 2.5 years. Being with Kiyoko had only been something to pass the time, just a casual diversion. Only Kiyoko had foolishly believed that they were truly a couple. She had even convinced herself that they kept their relationship secret to avoid awkwardness at work. Kiyoko stood there in shock. Her boyfriend calmly suggested, as if nothing had happened, asking whether she wanted to go to his place that evening. In a daze, Kiyoko broke up with him and returned to her apartment, where she cried alone. After graduating from university, she had come to Tokyo by herself. She was not good at interacting with others and had not made any close friends. All her pain could only be endured on her own. However, an even more difficult situation awaited her. Keiko, her ex-boyfriend, and his fiancée all worked at the same company. No matter how unwilling she was, it was inevitable that they would run into each other. She resigned from her job. Having lost both her boyfriend and her work, Keiko began avoiding reality by sleeping constantly. One day, she received a phone call from her uncle Awu, whom she had not seen for 8 years. He asked her to come help at Senkichi bookstore. Keiko immediately realized that her mother must have asked him to contact her. She was about to refuse, but Awu continued speaking without pause. Without giving her much chance to respond, Awu decided the matter on his own. He even sent her a hand-drawn map of the area around Senkichi. This reminded Keiko of her childhood, when she used to visit her grandfather's house. At that time, Awu would draw similar maps and take her on treasure hunts. A faint sense of warmth rose in her heart, and she smiled unconsciously. By the time she regained awareness, she already packed her luggage and arrived at Senkichi. As Keiko walked through the streets, she looked around and noticed that everywhere she saw was filled with bookstores. It was like a paradise for second-hand books. Awu was already waiting outside. The moment he saw her, he waved his hand vigorously. His eyes shone brightly, like those of a child. When she entered the shop, a musty smell immediately filled her nose. She could not help but complain about it. Awu corrected her, saying that he would prefer it to be described as the damp freshness of a morning after rain. He then brought Keiko upstairs to the room where she would be staying. She was almost overwhelmed on the spot. Books that could not fit on the shelves were stacked everywhere like small towers. There was barely any space to stand. Just cleaning the room kept her busy until late at night, leaving her exhausted and drenched in sweat. Her dislike of books only increased. The next day, when she woke up, it was already past 11 in the morning. All the bookstores along the street had already opened for business. Keiko hurriedly opened the shop without even properly washing up or changing clothes, then sat behind the counter waiting for customers. To her surprise, although a few pedestrians passed by, they simply walked past the entrance without coming in. Occasionally, someone would enter, but they only bought cheap books worth a few coins. Seeing this, Keiko could not help but wonder whether the bookstore could really continue operating like this. As she sat there bored, a middle-aged man suddenly began firing questions at her one after another. He was a regular customer of the shop. When he learned that Keiko was Awu's niece, he immediately began chatting confidently. He told her that young people nowadays did not read at all, and that people like them could only see the surface of the world. If they did not want to become shallow, they should at least read these great books. He went on and on like this, talking non-stop for nearly an hour. In the end, he left without buying anything. After Awu returned, Keiko told him about the incident. Awu explained that the man truly loved Japanese literary masters from the bottom of his heart. He just talked a little too much. After switching shifts with Awu, Keiko finally had some free time. But once she relaxed, her mind became filled with memories of the time she had spent with her ex-boyfriend. This made her feel extremely distressed. After several days of this, Awu could no longer tolerate it and insisted on taking her outside. They went to an old-style wooden cafe. Inside, soft lantern light glowed gently, and the sound of piano music flowed quietly through the space. It was an unusually calm and peaceful environment. Kiko felt slightly more energetic. She asked Awo what he had been doing at her age. Awo said that aside from reading, he spent his time traveling. He had visited many countries, including Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, India, and Nepal. He had also once traveled across Europe. He said that he wanted to observe this vast world with his own eyes and discover the many different possibilities within himself. That period of his life was not about imitating others, but about searching for his own direction. However, because of this, he often made his father angry. While he was traveling, his father fell ill and eventually passed away. After that, Awo inherited Senkichi Bookstore. He said that he did not regret inheriting the shop. In fact, he felt it was a very suitable profession for him. Kiko said with some envy that being able to live according to one's own preferences must be wonderful. However, Awo replied that it was not so simple. Even now, his life was still full of troubles. After saying this, he fell silent. Then he began chatting with acquaintances nearby. Kiko sat quietly to the side. The cafe owner brought her a delicate and delicious slice of cake and told her to enjoy her time there. Kiko found this a little strange. Both Awo and the cafe owner had told her to enjoy life here, but she could not understand what there was to enjoy. Every day she spent her time idling and sleeping. Her life felt meaningless and without value. Her mood became increasingly pessimistic. On the way home, Keiko told Awo that she felt she had been wasting her time. Awo comforted her by saying that this place was like a harbor. She was like a ship that had temporarily anchored here to rest. Once she had recovered, she could set sail again. Anywhere could become the starting point of one's life. That night, Keiko found it difficult to fall asleep. Her thoughts became unusually active, constantly intertwining and expanding in her mind. She felt confused about the future and realized she had to do something. So she decided to read a book to pass the time. She randomly picked one without any expectations. But after reading for an hour, she became completely absorbed. The work carried a soft and gentle atmosphere with a subtle emotional depth that was difficult to describe. Little by little, it moved her. The desire to read, which had long been dormant within her, suddenly burst forth. She began reading book after book, carefully savoring each one. There was no need to worry about running out of reading material. Within these old books, she discovered histories she had never imagined, not only in their content, but also in the traces left behind by previous readers. Some had marked passages with pink pens. Those same words now moved Keiko as well. She felt a strange sense of connection with these unknown readers. At times, she would also find dried flowers used as bookmarks. Whenever that happened, she would imagine the person who had placed them there, what kind of person they were, in what era they lived, and what thoughts they carried. This kind of encounter across time could only be experienced through second-hand books. Gradually, Kiko developed feelings for Senkichi Bookstore. She became more familiar with the authors whose works filled the shelves and also grew closer to the regular customers. She even developed a new habit of taking walks through the streets. As autumn deepened, Keiko made a new friend named Yuko, a literature student who worked part-time at a cafe. Although she appeared gentle and calm, she had a passionate love for literature. The two of them often bought desserts and sat together on a rooftop, enjoying the autumn scenery while chatting. Later, Keiko noticed that a young man named Takano, who worked with Yuko, often came to the bookstore. He seemed distracted and would secretly glance at her, even though he did not appear to be there to buy books. Yuko suggested that Takano might actually like her but was too shy to say anything. However, when Keiko finally spoke to him, he nervously asked about Yuko instead. Only then did she realize his true feelings. Keiko agreed to help him, even accepting his daily offers of coffee in return. As time passed, Keiko gradually changed. Eventually, she decided to confront her past and face her ex-boyfriend. Although she did not receive an apology, she was finally able to express her true feelings. This gave her a sense of relief she had never felt before. With the arrival of spring, Keiko decided to start over. She applied for jobs, found a new place to live, and prepared to move forward. Before leaving, she cherished her final days at the bookstore. When she said goodbye, she was told something she would always remember. True value is not something you obtain from valuable things. It is something you create yourself. With that, Keiko stepped forward. This time, She was no longer running away. She was moving toward her own future.